because it shows you all walks of life, all different people from different cultures, and you learn about their cultures, and you learn about the culture of Spain. And it is a university of learning, and not only do you learn about other people and other cultures. I've walked with people from Russia, people from England, people from the Netherlands, Germany. Not only do you learn about that, but it was also a university of your inner self. Don't rush it. Because I really regret on the Francés of not going and seeing and doing a few other things that were offered out there. I did not go to Samos Monastery. I took the other route. I did not take the little detour to the Church of Unite. I should have gone there. It's an incredible sight. So there were just some things, I felt like I pushed it a little bit. Got to get to Santiago. I tend to be a check it off your list kind of person. Just do it. But I really should have just taken more time to really enjoy the experience and not push myself to get to Santiago. The scarf is getting ready to go its 18th Camino. Actually, it's on Camino right now with a woman, and it's passed from woman to woman to woman. And I was just drawn or called to write a book about the scarf. I realized I couldn't write people's individual experiences. So I decided to do it by route. So the routes are accurate because I've walked all three, but the characters are fictional. Walk alone because walking alone allowed me to meet more people versus I walked with friends on the Norte and it was harder to branch out to other people because you're talking to your friends. So walking alone, and I think the third thing is to walk slowly and enjoy every step and experience all the things the Camino has to offer to give you. Don't rush it.
Welcome, pilgrims, to the Way to Your Way podcast. I am your host, Efrain Mendoza, and today we explore the deeper side of the Camino de Santiago, the moments when the journey becomes less about reaching Santiago and more about discovering yourself. Together, we will reflect on silence, transformation, human connection, and what happens when life finally slows down enough for us to hear the question we have been carrying all along Buen Camino. Today, we have Alder with us. So welcome, Alder. How are you doing today?
I'm well, and thank you for having me. Efren, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
Okay.
That's perfect. Well,
Wonderful.
thank you very much for joining today. And the question that I like to hear from all the pilgrims that came here as a guest for the podcast, how was that involvement with the Camino de Santiago?
It must be fantastic because after the first time I went back and did it twice more. It keeps calling me back.
Okay. And then that first Camino that you walk, what was the distance that you walk?
I walked the Francés and I started in Saint Jean and walked all the way to Santiago. So about 550 miles, I think it is. No, 500 miles, I believe it is.
And how many days it took that first Camino for you?
It took me a total of 36 days, but I took 3 days off during it, 3 rest days.
Okay. And based on your experience, do you consider that those 36 days are more than enough to complete that Camino?
Yes, I think that that's about average. I see that
Okay.
people do 30 to 40 days. I would do it slower next time so I could see more and experience more.
Okay. That way you can stop in more places and have
Yeah.
time to enjoy those.
Yes.
Okay. On that first Camino, how long ago did you walk it?
I did it in 2017.
2017.
Mhm.
And prior 2017, did you knew anything about the Camino prior to that date?
I did. I had read Shirley MacLaine's book about the Camino, and was really interested in going and seeing and having a spiritual experience. And
Okay.
that was in early 2000. And it wasn't until 2017 that life lined up so I could get away and go and be gone from my home and my job and my responsibilities for that amount of time.
And what you saw on that first Camino that make you repeat it two more times?
Well, I think you said it well. I think the spirituality, the simplicity, the silence, the cultural experience, meeting wonderful, like minded people, and the physical, just knowing that I could walk like that and do that physically.
Okay. And when you compare that physical part, because you are gonna be, you do a lot of physical because you are walking through mountains and different caminos, but then also you have that inner side. How would
Mm-hmm.
you compare the two?
I think you have to get beyond the physical pain. That first week up over the mountains, I had sore muscles, I had blisters, I was physically miserable. And that was about all I could focus on was my physical. But once I got through that and got into the Meseta, I said I was from Tampa. We're very flat here. We don't have mountains. So mountains are a challenge. But once I got into the Meseta where it was flat and there weren't many people and it was calm and my body was strong and I was used to the backpack, then it became much more spiritual for me.
Okay, that's good. Then another question. So there are a lot of people that say that sometimes they are so much stress, and when they disconnect and go to a place like the Camino, it's a different world. What would you say about that?
I would agree 100% because my life was very stressful. I was a caregiver. I was working full time. I had so many responsibilities. And to just step out and unplug and not have any of those responsibilities. And I think in the beginning, too, there was a certain amount of spiritual healing or slowing down that had to happen before I really got into, I don't know what you call it, the Camino spirit. I mean, how do you term that?
Yeah, well, that's one part of that I would say. But then when you go to the Camino, also it's like you're going back in time because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to a lot of different small towns, and those are intact like they were in the past. So I
Yes.
don't know if you feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. It is like stepping back into a simpler life.
Yes. So it's like there are no problems.
Exactly. All you have to worry about is a place to put your head down and food to eat.
Yes, that's it. And then you walk next day. The next day you sleep, having your breakfast, walk again, or a second breakfast, or a
Yeah.
second lunch. You know that you have a lot of meals there.
Yes, absolutely. I love second breakfast.
Okay. Well, then I hear you that we were talking before starting the conversation that you're gonna be going during the next month in the summer to the
Mhm.
Caminos. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm headed back to Spain in August, and the Camino has given me so much. It's time to give back and give back to the pilgrims. So I'm going back and I'm volunteering at an albergue called Ribadiso, and it's towards the end of the Camino Francés. It's a couple of days out of Santiago. And I'm
Okay.
really excited to be there for 2 weeks and watch other people completing their Caminos.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that.
So you're gonna be there like a hospitalero, correct?
Yes. Hospitalero, yes.
Yes. Okay. And what consists a job for an hospitalero while they are in an albergue?
Um, in this particular albergue, it is managed, the hospitaleros are managed by the American pilgrims on the Camino, and it's
Okay.
also managed by Spain. So
Okay.
at this particular albergue, the people who manage it from Spain are responsible for some of the heavy cleaning and any emergencies and that type of thing. I'm kind of more the welcome wagon. So when
Okay.
pilgrims come in, I'll welcome them, give them drink. Water is so important on the Camino. Make sure they're hydrated, show them their beds, get them signed in, stamp their passports. And then the next morning, I'll see them off to continue their journey and then do a little bit of housekeeping after that to get ready for the next pilgrims to come in. And if any of them need to talk or need support, we're there to do that because they only allow hospitaleros who have completed a Camino so we can relate, so we know what it's like.
Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. And I heard that you also, because you live in Florida, you have the opportunity to walk that small Camino in San Agustin.
Yes, the baby
How,
steps.
how was that experience?
Oh, it's fantastic. And I totally encourage anyone to go walk the baby steps. The second weekend of December is when it's held, and it's put on by the Knights of Malta and in conjunction with the Jacksonville chapter of the American Pilgrims on the Camino. They're very involved.
Okay.
And you start in a cathedral in Jacksonville. You go to the beach. You walk 10 miles down the beach. They have a bus that picks you up, takes you back to the cathedral to get your car. The next day, you start at that 10-mile mark, walk 10 more miles down the beach. And the last day
Okay.
is the last 10 miles into St. Augustine, where the oldest church in the United States is Our Lady of Leche.
Okay.
And it's just a phenomenal experience. And if you think it's easy, it's not, because walking on a slant by the ocean or soft sand, it has its own challenges.
Okay. And you say how many miles in total you walk through the beach?
30,
30. Wow.
30. And they are connected with the Camino in Santiago. So you get a passport, you get it stamped at each of the 10 miles, at each of the churches, and then you can go to Spain and you get a certificate. Then you go to Spain, take that, and you can add those miles or kilometers to a Camino in Spain. Let's say you want to do the Inglés, but it's a little bit shorter. It's not quite the 100 kilometers. You
Okay.
can then pair that with your baby steps and still qualify for the Compostela.
Oh, that's pretty good to know it. And then, so Those are made every year. So in December.
Every year in December, but you can go walk at any time.
And then how about the stamps through that Camino? How that works?
When you get to the cathedral, they stamp. So it goes from church to church to church. So when
Okay.
you do the first 10 miles, you end, they stamp it.
Okay.
And the next day you do the next 10 miles and you end at a church and they stamp it, and the same for the last 10 miles. So you do get a credential and it does get stamped.
Okay. And then how about the other thing that you have reading some books, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What made you to write those books?
Well, there is something called the Kamiga scarf.
Okay.
And in 2010, my friend Gigi walked the Camino, and there was a young American there, an au pair, and she happened to be in Estella on her afternoon off and heard American being spoken. And being there and working, she was excited to see Americans and sat down with my friend, and they had a wonderful evening and a little too much wine, and she missed her bus back to her job. And my friend said, "No, you are not sitting at a bus stop all night. You will stay with us." Took care of her. The next morning, the young lady left and left a scarf behind. My friend carried it all the way to Santiago. She never found the young lady again. And actually, we think she was from North Carolina, and it would be so fun to find her. I came
Okay.
back from my Camino. My friend gave me the scarf for my Camino, so I walked my Camino with the scarf. I came back, and another lady contacted me and asked me about the Camino, and we met for lunch. So I gave her the scarf. The scarf is getting ready to go its 18th Camino. Actually, it's on Camino right now with a woman, and it's passed from woman to woman to woman.
Wow.
And I was just drawn or called to write a book about the scarf. But I
Okay.
realized I couldn't write people's individual experiences. So I decided to do it by route. So the first one is set on the French route, and a mother walks it, and she's the one who finds the scarf and befriends the young lady. And she completes her Camino. She passes it on to a maiden, a young girl, who walks the Norte, and that's the second book is on the Norte.
Okay.
And the maiden passes it on to an older woman, a crone, and she walks the Portuguese.
Okay.
So the routes are accurate because I've walked all three, but the characters are fictional.
Okay. So that's very nice. And then you have those books with you?
This one is the mother,
Okay.
and that's the scarf. And this is, as you know, Osobreiro, and the
Okay.
statue that's up on Osobreiro.
Okay.
And that's the French route. This one is set on the northern route, and
Okay.
it's a young woman. And so that's book 2. And then book 3 is the crone, and
Okay.
it is about an older woman and set on the Portuguese.
Okay. And if someone wants to buy those books, how they can get it?
Just go on Amazon, type my name in the search, and they'll come up.
Okay, that's good. Well, now talking about the Camino del Norte, because we just talked a little bit about the Francés.
Yes,
The Camino del Norte was your second or your third experience?
my second.
Okay. So what made you curiosity to make that Camino del Norte?
When I finished the Francés, I was walking around Santiago and went to the bus stop to get ready to fly out. And there were a couple of men at the bus stop, and they were talking about the Norte and how beautiful it was. And they had just finished it. And that was the first time I had heard of a different route. And that spiked my curiosity. And I decided one day I was going to go back and walk the Norte.
Okay. And then when you walk the Camino del Norte, there are a lot of people that say that the Norte is a lot more difficult than other caminos. In your experience, how was that?
A lot more difficult than the Francés. It's almost like walking the first week of the Francés every day.
Okay.
Very mountainous, but you're walking along these high bluffs by the sea, and it is beautiful. It is spectacular. She kind of tried to capture that in this book, Walking Along the Sea.
Okay.
It's just spectacular. And then you walk down into where a river basin is, where the mouth of a river comes through in a harbor. And that's kind of where you spend the night, or where a town is, because they have a good harbor. And then you go straight back up the mountain to the bluffs again. And you
Oh,
do
wow.
that all the way across northern Spain. And I will tell you, towards my niece, who's 23, she wanted to come and walk part of it with me. And she flew in and walked the last 200 kilometers with me. And it was so much fun
Oh,
and so
that's
beautiful. And to see it through the eyes of a young one was a lot of fun.
okay. And did you have a chance to stop in Güemes where you were walking the Camino del Norte?
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh. Abuelo, Casa Abuelo, he was there, and I'm blanking his name, but it was just
Ernesto.
Ernesto. Yes, thank you, Ernesto. It was wonderful. It's such a beautiful place, all volunteer, so pilgrim friendly. They request that you go listen to a lecture before your dinner, and it was just so good and so interesting. And they really want to make a positive difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And he mentioned that for him, the Camino is like the university of life.
Yes.
Okay. What would you say about that? That's coming from him.
Oh my gosh, because it shows you all walks of life, all different people from different cultures, and you learn about their cultures, and you learn about the culture of Spain. And it is a university of learning. And not only do you learn about other people and other cultures, I've walked with people from Russia, people from England, people from the Netherlands, Germany. Not only do you learn about that, but it is also a university of your inner self.
That's absolutely right. Okay. And I recently also have an opportunity that I just came from Spain from a small trip that I was in the Camino Lebaniego. I don't know if you have heard about that one or no.
No. Oh, no.
So it's kind of it have like a 10 years old the Camino. They are starting working on it to promote it for people to know about it. And it's a small Camino that is have 73 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
But that Camino ends on the monastery of Santo Toribio de la Calzada. And then is because over there are remains of the cross where Christ was crucified. So
Mhm.
there is a small, there is like a this size where they make a one piece of wood like this side and the other one like that. So we're gonna be making videos about that to show because we have the opportunity to see that. So it's very interesting.
Researching the books to write them, I learned about the relics. and how
Okay.
important the relics are to not only Camino, but to pilgrims. And that was one of the reasons this Camino really became popular and so important. And to see a bit of the actual cross that they have it there, people thought that those relics, and probably people still feel this way, that they're very healing. To be
Yeah.
in the presence of the relic is just a very healing experience.
Yeah, that's correct. So, because we have the chance to do that trip, we're going to be having a series of podcasts related to that. That we're going to be interviewing several people over there, and the idea is that people know more about it.
That sounds wonderful. Let me know when it comes out. I want to watch them.
Yeah, I will. And then, so then going now to the Portuguese, you did the Central Portuguese or the Coastal Portuguese?
I started in Lisbon.
Okay.
Only 2 to 3% of the people who walk the Portuguese start in Lisbon. So I started in Lisbon and I took a flyer to Fatima. And really, when I say flyer, I just got off trail and walked to Fatima because I could and I wanted to go there. And then went back on the Camino at Tomar. And then once I got to Porto, I spent the first day out of Porto walking along the coast. And then I
Okay.
knew that it was going to be real rainy. So I went inland to Arco and then walked up the central from there.
Okay. And then, how long ago did you do that third Camino?
This past fall.
Okay, so it's recently, so it's still in your
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Okay. And then talking a little bit about when you arrived to Santiago to the cathedral, how you can describe that moment?
Oh my gosh. You want me to put that into words? Um, it's, I was elated. The first time I was just so excited and in such disbelief that this old body could do that, that I could actually get there and do it. And I walked in with two wonderful women, one from Italy and one from Denmark. And we just celebrated, and it was just wonderful. The second one, I walked in with my niece, and it was so fun to see her excitement. And her excitement buoyed my excitement, and it just kind of built on it. So that was just wonderful. And the third time, I met two ladies from Canada and one from Brazil, and the four of us walked in together. And it was
Okay.
pouring rain, but we didn't care. We just, again, it was exhilarating and it doesn't get old. I thought maybe it would get old, but it doesn't get old. I've walked in 3 times now, and each time is very special, very spiritual, and I felt complete.
Well, that's very good to know. And then, what kind of recommendation would you make to someone that have not walked the Camino but wanted to walk the Camino? What kind of recommendation you give to that person?
I would recommend, and this is my own prejudice,
Okay.
to walk your own Camino, that it's really not necessary to hire a tour company or anything else, even though there are people that need that. If you're able to go and walk alone, because walking alone allowed me to meet more people versus I walked with friends on the Norte, and it was harder to branch out to other people because you're talking to your friends. So walking alone. And I think the third thing is to walk slowly and enjoy every step and experience all the things the Camino has to offer to give you. Don't rush it.
Okay. You mentioned slowly. Why you mentioned walk slowly?
Because I really regret on the Francés of not going and seeing and doing a few other things that were offered out there. I did not go to Samos Monastery. I took the other route. I did not take the little detour to the Church of Unite. I should have gone there. It's an incredible sight. So there were just some things I felt like I pushed it a little bit. I got to get to Santiago. I tend to be a check it off your list kind of person. Just do it. But I really should have just taken more time to really enjoy the experience and not push myself to get to Santiago.
Okay. And then a final question. How do you know? Because you know that they always say that the Camino calls you at a specific moment. How do you, in your case, how do you notice that there was the right time to go to the Camino?
Well, as I said, I had read about it in early 2000, and people kept talking about it. I kept meeting people who had done it. And I was going to go with a friend in 2015, and my father had a stroke, and I had to take care of him. So my Camino was delayed. And I think that there is a right time for you to go. And it was like the world conspired that all of a sudden in 2017, after my father had passed, before I went back to a full-time job, all of a sudden the world conspired and it was the right time for me to go.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alder, for your conversation today. So really nice, and for you pilgrims, and keep watching our episodes, and also adding your comments to the comment sections. And then buen camino.